Hey guys, welcome back again from Tampa Bay. Today I'm going to make a often requested video on, alright, what do you think about the FZ09 versus the FJR? What do you like about one versus the other? Are you going to sell the FJR? A lot of people assume because they see me on doing a video on the FZ that I've sold the FJR. Not true at all. Now when I bought this FZ09, and even before I bought the bobber, when I was looking for a second bike, to have two bikes in the garage, my initial goal, and I talked about this years ago, was to have two bikes that contrasted and complemented each other. I wasn't looking for two bikes that were really similar. And I got exactly that, finally, in this FZ09. The bobber certainly had some of those traits and characteristics, but didn't fully fit the bill. Obviously, that's why I sold it. So, I'm only going to talk about things that are intrinsic to the bikes themselves, not talking about modifications like the aftermarket or the optional seats, that kind of thing. I'm talking about if you get a bike, these are the general characteristics that are different between the two. Now, first, elephant in the room, the weight. The FZ09 is about 250, 260 pounds lighter than the FJR. It is a day and night difference. This in all regards feels sometimes like a bicycle, like a little toy. Obviously flickable, obviously goes exactly where you want it to go, at a drop of a hat. Parking lots, I mean, literally, you have the utmost confidence in low speed handling. It goes, you know? You don't have any fear that you're gonna be dropping it. The FJR, complete opposite. Very top heavy bike, very heavy overall, but that's a pro and a con, because on a freeway, cruising, that weight makes things a lot more comfortable. It tracks straighter, it reacts better to the wind, especially other vehicles, especially semis. So it's a pro and a con depending on exactly what you're doing at the time. Going slow like here, 30s, 40s, neither one really makes a difference. You're going in a straight line, you're going in slow corners. Now if you're doing a bunch of tight turns, if you're doing a lot of switchbacks, yes, give me the lighter bike any day of the week. So that's a huge difference in riding, but it trickles down into other aspects of it. And I talked about confidence. This certainly gives you confidence in low speed maneuvers. But what some of you might find strange is I have a lot more confidence in high-speed maneuvers on the FJR. And that's due to two very important and large differences. One, the suspension. The suspension on the FZ, the best I can say about it is it's very adequate for normal street riding. Any kind of this. Any roads around here. No complaints, all right? It's very comfortable. It's on the plush side. It is undersprung for my weight. I'm 250 pounds, especially the rear shock. Front forks are actually not bad. There's a little bit more dive than I would like under hard braking, but it's controllable. It's completely fine in corners, but the rear does get upset a little bit over bumps, can get a little bouncy. When you're hard into a turn, does tend to wander a little bit. Now compare that to the FJR, and I'm not talking just the ES suspension. Even the A models are a lot better. It's sprung a lot heavier because it is a heavier bike. It's a sport touring bike made for a lot more weight carrying, and that translates into a much more controlled ride. I have both bikes dialed in as perfectly as they both can be, so they aren't misadjusted. Don't mistake that for what I'm saying. As perfectly dialed in as they are, the FJR is like on rails in all conditions. Of course, it's fantastic for normal street riding, but going through the twisties, taking it up into the mountains, going through any corner, you don't think about the suspension. And that's the best thing I can say about a suspension. Now, I'm not a track rider. Of course, it's not the best suspension in the world. I'm sure if you compare it to a $2,000 shock or $3,000 set of forks, it's going to be trash. But for me, it's like you're on rails. It's comfortable, it's controlled, very little dive, very little squat, no upsetting in the corners. It's perfect. Whereas this, it's still very nice, but you notice it. Now that goes along with the weight. Being a very light bike, this is more prone to movement. It's like comparing a Honda Civic to a town car. Town car has that plush ride because it has all that mass and the suspension sits there and does all the work. Some of that work is on a light vehicle transferred up into the chassis. So it's a balancing game. The FJR certainly lets the suspension soak up more of the bumps. But the other big thing that gives me a lot more confidence is the way I physically fit the bike, specifically the tanks. The FJR is, like I said, a big bike. It is a very top-heavy bike, and part of that is because it has a 6.6 gallon fuel tank between your legs. The benefit to that is you fit that thing like a glove. On this bike, only my knees and the ends of the inside of my thighs touch anything. It's such a narrow little tank and bike. There's just nothing to hug. There's nothing to grab. This is a naked bike. It's not a sport bike. It's not made to be absolutely wrapped around the tank. Excuse me. It's made for a more upright, neutral riding style. It's not made to be a supermoto either, like a scooter with your legs pinned up against the tank. That doesn't even do anything. Yes, it has these great grip pads here, and they work. But again, only those little contact points are actually hitting me, and it just doesn't give confidence. It's like if you put on a loose glove compared to one that's perfect for your hand. The FJR fits me perfectly. I just kind of plug into it, if that makes any sense. And that gives you such a more connected feeling to the bike, whatever you're doing. It's like a steering wheel. You can have a great car, but if you've got a really uncomfortable steering wheel or the steering feedback is poor, you can't control it well. Well, the way you interface with the bike, the grips, the bars, and how long has my blinker been on? My goodness. And the way you interface the tank is your interface to the vehicle. Has to be good. It's like a good keyboard on a computer. Come on. You guys have to know what I'm talking about. So let's talk power delivery. Even though this has a tremendous power to weight ratio, it's a little hard to put it down. You can't give it full throttle in first, ever. If you have traction control 2 on, you won't wheelie, but you're not going to get full power. And if you don't have it on, you can't give it full power because you wheelie. It's also a little bit shorter geared. First gear on this tops out about 55, somewhere right around there, whereas the FJR is about 62. It's only got, well, mine only has 5 gears, the new ones have 6. Very little difference there. But the FJR has a lot more torque. It's geared a little better. And yes, it has shaft drive, so it's a little more inefficient, but it's still faster. It is still faster. However, this feels faster. I know, it sounds strange. But it really does feel faster because it's kind of like you're more connected to the road. I have no fairing, I have no windshield. I'm out here exposed in the open compared to the FJR. I have to control the front end. It's just a more direct feeling, so it does feel like you're going faster. But you're not. And you can really tell that when you're on the freeway and you try to accelerate from 80. FJR will get up to 150, an honest 150, no problem. This starts to wind out about 125, 130. You can tell there's a sharp drop off in power, and that's expected. I mean, it's got a lot less power too. Something like 50 horsepower less. So yes, it is a very light bike. It has an awesome power to weight ratio, but it is not a speed demon. It is not a leader bike. It is not even a GSX 1000. It's not an S1000 Delar. It's not a super fast street fighter naked bike. It's right in the middle, and that's exactly what I wanted. I didn't want any total speed demon. I didn't even want anything faster than the FJR. It's fast enough. I wanted it right in that Goldilocks zone. There were plenty of bikes that are slower. If I wanted a slightly slower, less expensive one, I would have jumped on the SV650 all day long. That is a fantastic lower powered bike. But it just didn't have quite enough for me. Nice looking day out on the water. Some days I miss boating. And then I remember the cost, and I don't anymore. Haha. One of our nice little parks down here, next to the power station. One of the power stations. Alright, on to the next thing. The fairings. Alright, so this is a huge, huge difference. Wrong way, do not enter. I'll go this way then. Fine. You have a ton of wind protection. The FJR is definitely an all-weather bike. And I have the utmost confidence in all-weather riding it. I'm never scared of the conditions to ride the bike. I'm confident that it will handle it, and it's me that is going to be the limiting factor. Also, it's shaft drive, so I don't have any concerns about getting it wet. This is definitely a fair weather bike. It's a little skittish in the rain. Again, very light. But I really hate chain maintenance. I really do. So if I can avoid rain, I will do so. And I will take the FJR. Okay, that stop sign is not up, so that's not for me. As for weather protection, you know what? This is surprisingly, obviously completely wide open, but I have no need as far as the wind for any kind of windscreen, for any kind of handguards. I'm in Florida, remember, this is hot. We don't get cold. I'm not riding in the freezing rain. I'm not riding in the snow, anything like that, so I have no need for cold protection. A lot of people do, and there are some awesome handguards for this, of course. But here in Florida, it is obviously very cool from the wind, but the nice thing is, it's quiet. The wind stream itself doesn't give me any buffeting, doesn't give me any noise. And once I got the proper sized helmet, riding at higher speeds was no problem. It's actually really cool. Above 80, I can lean forward, kind of like putting your hand out the window in the wind. I can lean forward, completely relax. I mean, I could fall asleep and the wind holds me up, holds my head up, and I just hover there. Absolutely weightless without any effort. Anything above 80. It's really cool on the freeway. Probably looks a little funny, like I'm trying to go fast on a scooter. But beautiful wind management on this. Partly due to the little sport screen thing. I'm sure it changes the wind a tiny, tiny bit. Nothing dramatic. It's mostly for looks. Doesn't do anything to my helmet, but it does to my chest. But it's quiet, that's the point. But yes, if I'm going out and it's really rainy out, definitely taking the FJR. So they do complement and contrast each other in those ways too. Two-up riding, I have no idea. I will never have a passenger on this. Pegs came off as soon as I got it. Frankly, with the wife and I on it, we are over the weight limit for this bike, period. I mean, as undersprung as the shock air is for me alone, no way would I put my wife on it. I mean, we're right at the limit with luggage of the FJR's weight capacity. Still handles fine, I have no complaints about it. But we're both bigger people. She's about as big as I am. So that's why we need a big bike. FJR is a nice big bike for that. Sound-wise, very different. Now, even talking the stock exhaust, this FZ09 had a beautiful stock exhaust note. This is, of course, the Yoshi, and it's louder, especially those pops. But that triple cylinder growl is always there, no matter what exhaust is on it. Compared to the FJR, which is nothing more than a sewing machine. I don't care what aftermarket slip-ons you do on an FJR. It's going to sound like a sewing machine. That's it. I mean, this has character. This has triple cylinder character. All triple cylinder bikes are going to have a very similar sound. I had the chance to ride the Triumph, and I heard a lot more intake sound off the Triumph, but you could still detect that triple cylinder sound, the speed triple. Love that sound of the Yoshi though. This is definitely a bike where I take the time to appreciate just riding around. Where the FJR, I love putting on music, and it's more about eating up the miles and getting to the destination. And this is more about, I don't even have a destination, I'm just gonna go out and ride. Exactly what I'm doing today. This is what I love doing on this bike. And I don't necessarily love that on the FJR. It's more of, I guess, work on the FJR than this, if that makes any sense. It might just be that it's more bike to look at. Even for you guys, I know you're seeing this video and you don't see much of the bike. Well, that's because there isn't much to see. In the FJR, you've got not only more to see, but it's all farther away. This bike, everything is fork mounted. There's no fairing, there's no dashboard, there's nothing. And it's all a lot closer. The FJR's dash is out to here, and then everything else is up here. So it's a very different picture when you're just out riding around. As I'm sitting right now looking at this truck in front of me, I can't even see the bike. I see the tops of the mirrors. I have to look down with my neck to see the speedo, to look in the mirrors. Just a little bit to see the mirrors, but quite a bit down to see the gauges. Where on the FJR, everything is in my vision. I just have to move my eyes. So that's a big difference too. Come on, lady, move up. Move into the intersection. There you go. Holy balls. So what that gives you without seeing all the dash in the bike is a much freer experience on the bike. Almost feels like you're flying compared to riding something. Here going through this curve, can't see the bike. Now I can see the bike. It's just really cool. Couple that, now see over these bumps, I'm bouncing a lot. The FJR doesn't do that to me on stuff like that. And that's just because the suspension on here is basic. It is a low-cost, basic budget bike, make no mistake. Now the bikes are also alike in a lot of ways. Partially due to the way I have them set up, but this is something you can do to any bike. Setting up the pedals and the controls, to some extent the seat, some are height adjustable. The seating position in both are very similar, with the exception of the bars and their reach. I do have more of a forward lean on the FJR, and wow, what a lineup. And a slightly wider stance of the bars on the FZ09. And that works very well for the more upright seating position. I think it's the first time I've ever caught that green light. So that's it, guys. I'm gonna battle some traffic here coming home. Whee! Caught the end of rush hour. Benefits of working from home. You don't have to deal with this anymore. I don't miss it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. I wish I could lane split. No, I don't.